Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If your aspiration is to build your personal wealth, get yourself out of that rat race and reach financial freedom, then you need to make sure that you are not buying these 5 things. In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 rich people items that are in fact keeping you poor. So grab a notebook and a pen and let's get stuck into things. Number 1. Luxury cars, depreciation disaster. Most people would love the opportunity to purchase a brand new car, walk right into that showroom, hand over the money and walk out with a shiny new vehicle. But the depreciation on these brand new cars is astronomical. As soon as you drive it out of the forecourt, you are losing money. On average, in the first year of ownership of a brand new car, it loses up to 40% of its initial value. So let's say you walk in and you purchase a $40,000 car, and on average in its first year, it loses 25% of its value. That's $10,000 gone in 12 months. Purchasing a brand new car is one of the quickest ways to lose your money. Let's say you have it for a 3-year period and you're driving on average 10,000 miles per year. By the end of the 3 years, your car will have lost 60% of its value. So that $40,000 car that you purchased 3 years ago is now worth $16,000. Although the idea and the experience of purchasing a new car is incredibly lovely and luxurious, it does not make a good financial investment. Either you are better off purchasing a slightly used car 3 to 4 years old, when actually by that point the depreciation slows considerably and you'll be losing much less of your investment over the period in which you own it. Your other option is to lease a car. Although initially leasing can look expensive and the monthly payments can be high, it can be a really effective way of managing depreciation costs, as well as also the majority of monthly payments will include maintenance bills and repairs, which can also be a really considerable amount across the period of you owning the car. It's a really good way to manage your monthly outgoings, knowing that you have a fixed cost that you are paying for every month and you hand it back at the end of that period. Just be mindful of mileage limits because this is where it can get very expensive if you were to go over them. Number 2. First class fool. Traveling style and traveling luxury is an aspiration that many people have. But when you start to break down how much it actually costs you from traveling in those ways, you may start to think differently about it. Traveling first class is obviously a lot more comfortable, a lot more pleasurable, and also feels very indulgent. But let's break down the costs of this. So let's say that you want to travel from London Heathrow to JFK. An economy ticket via British Airways costs $748. If you chose to travel premium economy, that would increase to $1,320. And then let's say you want to splurge and treat yourself and go all out. A business flight would cost you $4,544. The difference between business and economy is just under $4,000 more expensive for a return flight. Is that worth it? Well, let's break down what benefits you get. So travelling economy, you get 31 inches legroom, 23 kilos checked luggage, complimentary meals and movies on demand. If we move on to business, this upgrades to a 6-foot fully flat bed, so you can lie down whilst you're travelling, 2 32 kg checked luggages, complimentary meals and drinks like economy but usually of a much higher standard, fast track and lounge usage if available, priority check-in and boarding and a separate cabin. So you're basically paying nearly $4,000 extra for a bed for a few hours, a slightly better food service, a lounge if it's available, and probably more checked baggage than most people could ever possibly use. Weighing up the pros and cons from my perspective, business class just isn't worth it. For short haul flights, I would always travel economy, and if it was a long haul and I really felt like I needed the extra legroom, then yes, maybe I would treat myself to premium economy. But 4 to 5 times more expensive between economy and business is just not justifiable for me. Number 3. Pampered Poor. The beauty industry is huge. According to Statista, in 2024, the beauty industry is worth $646 billion and it is projected to grow to $737 billion by 2028. The markup on luxury beauty items and beauty treatments is astronomical. I used to work at Chanel within their fragrance and beauty departments, and the markup and margins that they have on these products is unbelievable. I would buy mascaras and foundations for 80% off of the retail price, and they definitely weren't losing money from me spending with them either. Most cosmetic beauty items are actually made in the same factories as one another. It's just the packaging and the brand that you end up paying the astronomical prices for. For example, Chanel foundations can go upwards of $50, and then you have drugstore equivalents that are closer to $12 to $15. A lot of their ingredients are very comparable and very much the same. Similarly, the amount that we as consumers spend on beauty treatments, luxury skincare treatments, all of those sorts of pampering activities is crazily high. Looking at each of these services and treatments that you have on a monthly basis individually may not necessarily look like you're spending a lot of money. It might be $20 here, $30 there. Oh, a new treatment has come out this month that I really must try. $50 there. But when you start actually looking at them collectively, adding them up, you're probably into several $100s per month before you even realise it. A tip from me, which I learned the hard way and spending way too much money, is to not hop on every single skin and beauty trend that come our way. Invest in your good skincare basics and stick to them. It's so easy to get swayed and pulled into all of the consumer marketing that makes us want to buy all of these products, especially if you're on TikTok. Don't mess with the routine. Number 4. Oversized houses, dream home, or a money pit. The way in which society is conditioned to think about things is generally that bigger is always better. So, for example, when buying a house or purchasing a new property, most people want to upgrade from where they are currently. Usually that is one of the key factors and drivers for one wanting to purchase a new home and move house. And as soon as we start looking, very quickly do our expectations and standards increase. Oh, we couldn't possibly have smaller than a 4-bed property, and it definitely needs a utility room. Oh, and I really want to make sure that I have an office too. Before you know it, your expectations have increased and increased along with the budget that you are going to be having to look to spend. Obviously, there are benefits to having a larger house. You have more space to play with, more storage opportunities, and generally it makes people feel pretty good about themselves that they have been able to afford and buy something so large. But there are also some significant downsides to buying such a large property that generally is probably above what you actually need. A simple one is bigger house equals bigger costs. The maintenance costs, the taxes, the bills, everything that comes with a smaller house comes with a bigger house, just with a much higher price tag. And if you don't need the space, why are you overextending yourself on all of these additional things? Not only that, but think of the cleaning and the maintenance of several rooms that you probably don't even use. Number 5. Champagne tastes on a beer budget. I lived in London for over 10 years, and living in a city like that, it is incredibly dangerous when it comes to eating out and going to fancy luxury restaurants. If you're not careful, it's very easy for those spending habits to get out of hand. In my early 20s, I was going out for dinner probably twice a week. I'd worked hard at work, I wanted to treat myself, and I'm very much a foodie. But really quickly, those costs can escalate. And when I started to write it down how much I was spending on eating out, I found it quite shocking. Let's break an example down now. One of my favourite restaurants in London is Brasserie of Light, which is in Selfridges on Oxford Street. Let's say I go with a friend, we have a couple of starters, a main each with a couple of sides, and share a bottle of Prosecco. On average, with the drinks, food and service, we were looking at about $210. So $105 per person. $105 per person per week. That's $420 per month and $5,040 per year. $5,000 over the course of a year, having one meal out per week, is a lot of money. When you sit back and think about it objectively, what could you do with an additional $5,000 in your bank account? You could invest it in index funds or an equivalent of an ISA in the UK, furthering your education or your personal development, or even investing in experiences to give you lifelong memories. If you're able to avoid these traps of getting caught into buying these rich people items, you'll be one step closer on building on your personal wealth, escaping that rat race, and reaching your goal of financial freedom. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.